So today's story, we're gonna have a couple. I'm just gonna title it Dead Sister. I was only 6, but she was like, "How's your baby sister?" And I thought, oh fuck, now I'm really gonna be in trouble. And they're like, "What happened?" Hey friends, welcome to Girl, Are You Okay? I'm Lulu and I'm here with my amazing co-host Ivy.
Hey there. We're so excited to have you join us as we dive into our wild, embarrassing, and traumatic stories, all with a touch of heart and hopefully a lot of humor.
We'll be sharing our experiences, the crazy things we've been through, and hopefully some lessons we've learned along the way.
So buckle up, grab your favorite drink, and get ready for some laughs, tears, and real talk.
Because, girl, are you okay? We're here to make sure you are, so let's get started. So today's story, we're going to have a couple, but the one I'm going to tell, Ivy has not really heard it.
Right.
And I'm just going to title it Dead Sister.
I already am uneasy about this story.
So none of my sisters are dead. I have an oldest sibling, like an older sister, and then 2 younger sisters. My younger sisters, I'm 6 years older than one and 8 years older than the other. So this was back in first grade. I was only 6, which I know you're like, that's not first grade age, but
I think it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I started kindergarten when I was 4, but my birthday's in October, so I was like right on the cusp. So yeah, I guess I was 6. But yes, so when I was 6 years old and I was in first grade, my baby sister was born. And this devastated me. It devastated me because I'd been the baby for 6 years. I'd been oohed and awed, and the baby just always gets all of the attention and everything like that. And so she was born.
Can confirm. I was the oldest, so
yes.
I didn't get oohed and awed very much.
I was pissed. I was not happy that we had a new baby. I mean, she was cute. That's about it. Like, that's how I felt. And I remember I went back to school. She was less than a week old. And a little girl in my class came up to me, and I guess I just wasn't in the mood that day. Like, I guess I was just pissed. But she was like, "How's your baby sister?" And I looked at her and I was like, "She's dead." And
we went from like 0 to 100. We were like, "No, she's not sick. She's dead."
Yeah, I was like, "She's dead."
She doesn't even exist in my mind.
Yes, and that little girl, like, she was like, "Oh," and she immediately ran to tell the teacher. And I remember thinking, "Oh shit, like I'm about to get in trouble." And so my teacher, she comes up to me and she's like, "Hey, this little girl." I'm not going to say her name. She was like, "This little girl just came up to me and she said that your little sister died. Like, did that happen? Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, she died." And she was like, just flabbergasted, basically.
Right.
And she was like, "What happened?" And I was like, "Well, my big sister was holding her on the porch and she dropped her." And she was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, she just dropped her on her head, started bleeding everywhere." And then she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she died. We couldn't stop the bleeding. Like, she's dead. And so she was like, "Okay, we're taking you to the office." And I thought, oh, fuck. Now I'm really going to be in trouble.
Yeah, now I'm in trouble.
Yes, but I did not want to get caught in this lie. Like, I was adamant. She's dead. And so they took me to the counselor's office. And the counselor and the principal came in. And my teacher. And my teacher was like, "Lulu just said that her sister died." And they're like, "What happened?" And so I repeated the story. I was like, "Well, my big sister was carrying her and she dropped her on the porch and she started bleeding. She dropped her on her head. She died."
And that's a really consistent story for a 6-year-old in first grade to tell.
Yes. Well, I've always had a wild imagination. I've always been a little smarty pants. And so I knew how to lie. Like, I'm probably because my parents lied all the damn time. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And so
I could see that.
They were like, "Well, what did y'all do? Like, where was she buried? Like, has she had, a funeral, basically?" And I was like, "Well, we tried to stop the bleeding. Like, my mom got a bunch of rags and was holding them on her head, and they couldn't stop the bleeding, and she died." And they're like, "Well, okay, but what happened after that?" And I was like, "We buried her in the backyard." I was like, "We just buried her in the backyard."
Yeah, I mean, like, hello.
Yes.
Duh, we buried her.
Yes, I was like, "We buried her in the backyard."
Are y'all new here?
And then so they called the police. Or maybe they just called social services because the social worker came. And then they're like, "What happened?" And so I told them the exact same story. I was like, "My big sister was holding her, carrying her. She dropped her. Her head bled. Mom got the rags. She couldn't quit bleeding. We buried her in the backyard." And then the police came. And then I told them that story. And then they sent me home on the school bus, like just like it was any other day. Like,
yeah, and you were like, whew, okay, it's over.
yes, I was like, it's over. And then like I'm not even home an hour. And then there's boom, boom, boom at the door. And it's police and social services, the same social worker that had been at the school. And I was just like, what? Oh my God. And then so, I left out a part. And so they're like, well, where's your mom? Where's your dad? Like, that's back when you didn't have cell phones and like no one was answering because obviously no one was home. And so I was like, yeah, my mom was so upset. She cried for days and days and just like held a picture of her and stared at it and cried and wouldn't get out of bed. Like she wouldn't move off the couch. And so she just left California. Like she's just not around anymore. And they were like, oh my God, like what the fuck? So anyway.
So what did you say? Where did you say your dad was? Home with y'all?
Yeah, I said he was just taking care of us now. And they were like, oh my God. And so, like, I had told that story to my teacher, the principal, the counselor, social services, the police. So I told them that story like 5 times at this point. And then so they come and knocking on the door. Boom, 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 like pissed, like, that police knock. And so my dad, like, answers the door and he's like, hello? And they were like, we don't necessarily believe this story, but
we have to investigate.
We have to investigate. And she has not changed up any of her facts. Like, very consistent. So we need to see the baby and we need to see the mom. And of course, my mom was grocery shopping. Like, she was out running errands. The baby was at home. My mom was at home. And my dad was just like, what? And so they're like, she told us that she's dead and that she's been buried in the backyard. And my dad was just like, what? That is not true. He was like, tell them the truth. And I was like, no, she's dead.
You stood in front of your dad.
Yes, I did. My dad was like pleading with me. He was like, you tell them the truth. And I was like, I am telling the truth because, I was scared. I didn't want to go to jail. And so I was like, I'm telling the truth. She's dead. She's died. Like, we dropped her on the porch. She bled. She bled to death. Like, she's not here. And so they were like, okay, we need to check your backyard. And for a little context, my dad has been obsessed with archaeology since I can remember. He's weird as fuck. And he had a fixation on, like, the Mayan pyramid type things. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
And so he would, like, dig our yard up and, like, put like little rope all around it and like build these mounds out of dirt. So he had like,
oh my gosh,
4 different, like, obviously not to scale, like tiny little, but I mean, I guess big enough for a baby to be buried in. And so like we had like the flat pyramid, we had like, the triangle pyramids, like all of that in our backyard.
Oh my
and
God.
So they like bring in dogs. The police come and they're
they
like,
brought in dogs too?
Yeah, I guess.
Like cadaver dogs?
I guess so. And my dad's like almost like I think cried at one point.
I'm sure he was hysterical.
He was. And like obviously no one could get a hold of my mom. And so like they were getting ready to dig up our fucking backyard. And they asked me the story like 3 more times and I'm like telling the story in front of my dad and his eyes are wide and he's like, you're lying. You're a liar. And I'm like, no, I'm not. So anyway, about 2 hours into it, my mom finally comes home with my baby sister. And they're both alive. They're both fine. My mom wasn't in California.
So the cops and the social services were still there?
We're still there, yeah. Like social services was sitting on the couch with my dad and me. Just like we were all just staring at each other. And I was just like...
So where were your other sisters?
Well, I just had the little sister and my big sister. And my big sister, she did some kind of extracurricular after school.
Oh, okay.
So... I don't remember her being there. I guess she may have been there. I don't know. I don't think she was with my granny.
Okay.
She was with my granny. She pretty much
probably planting elephant ears.
Not that granny. My other granny.
Oh.
Like, my other granny really favored her. Like, she lived there.
Okay.
For like half of my childhood. Like, she would come home and visit, but she pretty much lived with my granny. So she wasn't even home. So it was just me and dad. And my mom finally comes home and they're both freaking out. And of course, social services and the police were like, what the fuck?
Right.
Like, I remember they all sat down and they like explained to me that lying was wrong. Lying has these big consequences. Like, I pretty much wasted resources, like all this shit. And I didn't, my parents used to fucking spank us, but they didn't even spank me. Like, I remember that Like,
well, everybody was just traumatized, I'm sure. They were like, well,
yes.
Shit.
Yeah, they were. And
everybody's like, we all need a hot bath.
And they couldn't
and
believe,
dinner.
Yeah, I remember they just were like, we cannot believe that she told this story that many times and didn't fuck it up. I think at one point, the only inconsistency was I said she was buried next to my Uncle Lee in the backyard. It was alive and well. But I thought maybe...
Your uncle was alive and well, too?
Yes. But, like, I think maybe...
So we got 2 people dead now in the backyard.
Buried in the backyard, yeah. And so I went back to school, and of course my teacher and everyone knew that I had been lying. And I will never forgive Miss Young. I'm going to say her name. I hope you have the worst life, Miss Young. Fucking bitch. She terrorized me the rest of the year. She had like a cardboard box that refrigerators came in. So it was fucking tall. It was wide. And, you know, they cut the backside out of it. And she literally moved my desk to, I guess technically the front of the room where her desk was. And she put that refrigerator box around my desk. And I was not allowed to interact, nor see, nor speak
for the whole year,
any students for the rest of the year. And I remember like this first or second day I was in the box. That's what I call it. I was in the box. And like we had some kind of like math worksheet to do. I was fucking mad at her. I was mad at her. And so I like spit all over that paper until it's soaking, sopping wet. And she like came to get it from me and she was like, what is this? What did you do? And I was like, I just cried. I've been crying so much. I was just such a little shit and such a little liar.
Right.
But I did. I spit all over that paper, like just sitting there thinking like, fuck her. She should be the one who's dead. And then she came and picked it up and like literally she couldn't even pick it up. Like it just like was so wet. Like it just ripped. And I was like, I just cried so many tears.
In the 1st grade.
Yeah, but I just was very creative. Like I was always awarded for being very creative. Like I would tell all the good stories. And
I'm so glad that you like me. I feel like
I don't do that anymore. Like I know better now, but yes, no, that's one of my favorite. That's one of the stories that my dad loves to tell because he's like, that was the first time. I don't remember the social worker's name, but you know, CPS was at our house all the time growing up. And he was like, that was the first time I met whatever her name was. He was like, I remember just sitting there going, staring at them, staring at you, staring at the police, like for 2 hours. He's like,
I'm sure that like creeped by too.
I honestly don't remember that part. I think I was just on my merry way, just like, yeah, it's true. You can't tell me otherwise. But I was so scared that I was going to get in so much trouble that I would not relent. I was like, this is true.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you like knew that lying was wrong. You just didn't know what consequences you were going to have if you told the truth.
Yeah, like I was like, I can lie to my teacher. I'm scared. Like she's going to tell my parents and my parents are going to be mad. But when the police got involved, I was like, there's no way I can go back. There's no turning back. So I didn't until my mom came home. But yeah, I was like, she cried for days and she just left to California. Because obviously I didn't know like states or anything, but I'd heard of California like a million times. So I was like, she just left for California. She was holding a picture of her crying.
From here.
I think I said that she took my big sister too and she left me, I think. I don't know. But yeah, that was pretty crazy.
That's the wildest shit I've ever fucking heard.
Wow. I'm pretty wild. But I mean, I don't know where I came up with that at. I don't know how I came up with it. But yes, I do remember being like, we took rags and like we tried so hard to stop the bleeding, but there was too much blood. We buried her in the backyard.
Like, I feel like this is really...
It sounds like it's not a true story.
Good for me to say is, girl, are you okay?
I was not, obviously.
Obviously.
Like, sometimes I tell that story and people are like, there's no way that's true. And I'm like, ask my parents. I have a video of my dad talking about it. Like, it sincerely happened, and it sincerely happened that way. I think my dad likes to embellish it because I don't remember saying that she was buried in the backyard next to my Uncle Lee, but my dad says that I did say that. And I'm like, I don't remember that part. Maybe I don't know. But the rest, yeah, it happened that way. I remember just like explaining in detail how we like tried to clean her up and clean up the blood and stop it. Like my mom was putting rags all over her, and yeah. That's what I did in the 1st grade. And then I was shunned and isolated the rest of the year. in a refrigerator
I'm trying
box.
to think what I was going through in the first grade. That was when my parents got divorced. I mean, there wasn't, like, I remember, like, we lived with my grandma for a little bit. I switched schools just for a year, and I loved the school that I went to. So much so subconsciously that my son goes to the school now because I loved that school. It was such like a smaller school to where you felt like everybody was kind of like there for each other.
Yeah.
Whereas I went to a much bigger school where you probably didn't remember half the people in your class.
Yeah. I always went to small schools.
I really like that better.
I do too. Yeah. Like from like 4th grade to, until 10th grade, I went to a small school. Like there were 35 kids in our grade and I loved it.
Oh.
Like it was small.
Yeah, that's really small.
And then my 11th grade year, which I only went for like 2 months before my ex-husband and my mom made me drop out and get married. But that school was fucking huge. Like I literally couldn't even find the cafeteria the first week.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I went to the library and then they're like, you can't be in here. And then I bawled and squalled. And they let me go to the bathroom and stay there the rest of the lunch hour because I was like, I can't find it. But yes.
Nobody like walked you down to it or anything?
No, I ended up having a classmate and I'll never forget him. I love him so much, like still to this day. His name was Christopher Judy, and I did tell him that I would probably talk about him on the podcast at some point because, I was pregnant. I wasn't allowed to tell anyone. I wasn't allowed to, because, my ex-husband was so much older than me. Like, he was a grown-ass adult, and here I was just, like, a 17-year-old teenager. And, he made me wear his dog tags to school and shit, so people knew that, like, I was taken or whatever, but I couldn't tell anyone I was pregnant. And, like, he split his lunch with me every single day because my ex-husband wouldn't give me lunch money, nothing. They had a really fucking cool cafeteria, though. It set up like a food court mall, almost.
Oh, that's neat.
It was neat. But he would get a salad every day with an egg, and he would give me his hard-boiled egg and split his salad with me. Or sometimes he'd get a sub and, like, share that with me. And he also did my Spanish homework because, I told him everything. Like, he was the only person who knew. And he was so good to me. And I'll never, ever forget him for that.
Wow. Do you still keep in contact with him?
We're friends on Facebook. He's a cool cat.
A cool cat.
He's a cool cat.
I definitely don't have any stories about my baby sister being dead. I mean,
you never told me wild lies.
No. I mean, other than saying that I was related to the Olsen twins.
Oh.
That was the wildest lie I've ever told.
Really? I used to tell everyone that because my maiden name was Adams. And so I would tell everyone that I was related to Posh Spice because her name was Victoria Adams.
I loved Posh Spice. It was either her or Baby Spice that were my favorite.
Mine too.
Listen, I told my husband the other day if the Spice Girls toured again, wherever they were going, I would be there.
Yes, I'll go with you.
Let's go.
Want to become one.
Yes.
Need some love like I never needed love before. Love to you. Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone loved them. Their movie was fucking weird.
I loved it. I still have that on VHS right now in my house.
We need to watch it. Like I
don't have
just
a VHS
remember,
player.
It was weird.
I just have a VHS. A bunch of VHSs.
We need to see if we can stream it somewhere. But I just remember aliens came.
Yep, aliens. They went to military boot camp.
Yeah, that's just so random.
Oh yeah, super random. So let's see.
You need to tell a story now.
I don't really have any that top that one. I mean, I know, my sister and I are 3 years apart, so everything was always I wanted to play with her because I was so excited that I had a sibling.
Yeah.
But she never wanted to play with me unless it was what she wanted to play. But I always pestered her. Yes. So I always pestered her. Well, one day, I can't remember what I was doing. And really, I pestered her entire life. And I would poke and push her until she was so mad. So we lived in a house that had the old 90s, 2000s hollow doors.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what I was doing to pester her. Well, not... Yeah, they were...
But there was a space on the inside?
Yes. And they were wood. So I can't remember what I was doing that pissed her off so bad, but I did something, and I was probably 7 or 8 maybe, and she was probably 5 or 6. So I did something to pester her, and she got so irrationally angry. I ran into the bathroom and locked the door, and she would run. She would run. We had this like short little hallway. Our hallway was an L. So here was our living room, and you had to like, if you walked straight down the hallway, that was my sister's room. But then if you took a right, that was like straight to the bathroom. And then my bedroom was right here. So our bedrooms were kind of like parallel.
Yeah.
So she would run from like where her doorway was to like ram the door to try to get it open.
Oh my God.
And like she would be so mad. So she busted a hole in the door. And my dad comes running in, what is going on? And I was like, well, my sister just knocked a hole in the door because she was kicking it so hard. But I mean,
Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee kicked
right. Yeah, like she like took her foot up and she's like, get out of here now. And I was like, I'm not getting hit. There were so many times where I would pester her, or like I would pour cold water on her in the shower or something. God. I'd stand on the toilet and pour cold water on her.
I'd be kicking in doors too. Oh my God.
So,
I hate being cold though.
Well, if you're in a hot shower,
then it's like being shocked.
Yeah, she ran out of the shower several times to like kick me out and push me out and stuff like that.
Oh my God. What'd your dad do?
I mean, what could he do? Replace the door. He was just like, please don't do that again. Like, come on, y'all. But I've never...
Did she beat you up later or try?
I don't think so. Once she got in trouble, she was like,
she probably was like, oh, fuck. When she put that hole in the door, she was like, oh my God, I'm about to get my ass handed to me.
But I have never hit my sister, but she's always hit me. Because I'm like, I know if I hit her, it's going to hurt her way more than what her hitting is going to hurt me. So I've never been one to hit her back.
She's so lucky. My big sister used to beat the shit out of me all the time.
I just couldn't. Like, that was my baby sister. I still, care about her. I think so much about consequences before I take action.
You're very rational then.
I guess. I mean, there's a couple of times in my life where people have influenced me so much to making rash decisions, and like, it's always gone bad. Like one time...
You learned your lesson.
Yes. And it was always like hard lessons.
Yeah.
So annoying.
I wish I learned my lesson the first time I did shit, because let me tell you, definition of insanity, I would do the same thing 18 times before I realized maybe I shouldn't do that.
No. I'm very hard-headed, and I need to learn my lesson. You're not going to be able to teach me a lesson by like telling me your version.
Yeah. You've just got to figure it out yourself.
Yes. I've got to figure it out myself.
Yeah. There's a little shit who always got her way. No.
I mean, kinda. My dad made everything really fair on his side, but I definitely think like whatever my mom did for me, she felt like she needed to do for my sister because we were so close in age, but I didn't think that was fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, she definitely, it was her way or the highway.
She mollywalked you.
Yeah, most of the time.
That's just how little sisters are.
I guess so. I do remember one time, so we had all boys, neighbor-wise, and we were always, I was a tomboy anyway, like I wore basketball shorts until I was probably in the 7th grade.
Yeah.
Like basketball shorts and t-shirts, like I rarely washed my hair, but it was down to my butt. Like I've always been able to grow my hair really long, but I remember my neighbor boys had a trampoline in the backyard, and my sister and I were jumping on there, and there were like 3 or 4 boys on there with us. So it was probably, 6 of us on the trampoline.
Dangerous.
Yes, exactly. So we were outside jumping, and
you're tiny.
we were all doing like the whole like bounce real high and then stop, or like bounce in. Yes, double. We were double bouncing everybody back and forth. And then my sister just like, I guess, fell off the side and like her arm got hung on like one of the edges of the spring or something. Like she starts screaming, and I have to run and get my dad. And it's so funny. I've never seen my dad run that fast in my entire life. So he starts running. I'm like, Dad, Stephanie's stuck on the trampoline. Like her arm's caught in the spring or something like that. He's like, so we talk about that. Like, you know, that's one of the things, core memory stuff.
Were you a little bit like, haha, that's what you get? No.
Not really. Sister. I mean, I don't guess I've ever been just real petty, but I was like, come on, sis, like, why were you standing on the edge? Like, it's so hard for me to comprehend that people don't think about, you know, consequences for their actions, because I do that constantly.
That's such an older sister thing, to be cautious.
Like, I'm always so cautious, because nobody's gonna, you know, fix whatever I've done. I have to fix it.
See, I was never cautious. I was wild and free.
But see, you know, my husband's very much, he's the oldest, or older. I mean, he's the oldest too, but there's only 2 of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was all the time growing up, like, he's like, oh yeah, I broke this, I broke that, I broke this. Like, no wonder you hurt all the time, because you broke everything. Nothing works right.
Yeah.
I was like, the only thing I broke growing up was my pinky toe, and it was because somebody stepped on it and I twisted my foot around.
Toes are just rough.
I mean, it kind of hurt, but not really. Like, it was a little fracture.
Jaw broken, my tailbone broken twice, and my tooth knocked out. So,
see?
Yeah, I was just,
my sister did break her big toe one time.
I know she couldn't walk right.
Yeah, she had to have a boot, which I called, what did I call it? It was like the stupid shoe or something. And she got so mad. But so, for that story in particular, this is I was probably like 13, 14. My neighbors at my mom's house, it was the 2 younger siblings. There were 4 kids. There were 2 girls that were older, and then 2 boys that were younger.
Yeah.
Well, the 2 boys, one of them was older than me, and the other one was like 1 year older, and then the other one was 1 year younger. Well, the 1 year older one, they had found their grandma's shop or shed or something, found some old fireworks, started shooting Roman candles at me in their backyard. And I was like, please stop. Like, I'm crying. I'm so traumatized. Yeah. So one hits me. I'm in my mom's Journey like concert shirt. My mom's so mad because this happened. And I think she misdirected her anger at me instead of my neighbor.
Yeah, she probably didn't.
She was really mad at the whole situation. Yeah. Well, anyways, so I have like a bad burn from a ball of fire on my arm. My sister runs out behind my mother out the front door, breaks her toe. So we're sitting in the ER, and my mom's not even concerned about my arm because my sister broke her toe. I remember being so mad because I'm like, I'm literally still burning.
Yes.
Because it hurts.
Terrible.
Like, I still have a scar. It sucks.
Broken toe sucks too. She was probably just like, what the fuck?
Like, literally, my sister used to get hurt just existing. I'm like, are you serious? Like, you walked out of the front door and broke your fucking toe? Seriously? My mom was like, I can't believe you let that happen to my Journey shirt. And I'm like, did you want me to take it off in preparation for this ball of fire? Like, wait, hold on just a minute. Don't let that ball shoot at me yet.
Like, let me take the shirt off first.
Right. Let me be naked in this neighbor's back. And I'm sure I wasn't even, like, old enough to have a bra on or something. Like,
let me shoot you with a Roman candle.
My gosh, it was so scary. So I don't like fireworks because I'm always so scared that something is gonna like happen.
Yeah, I like to watch fireworks, but you know what are they called? The ones that shoot up in the air. What are those called?
Roman candles.
No, Roman candles are the one you hold. The ones that
but you can also
drop down, that like burst up in the air.
Oh, the big ones.
The big bang ones, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've seen videos, but there's been a couple of times where one is like falling over,
right,
shot at us, and those freak me out. But I just make someone else light it.
Nope. I will literally go in the house and watch from inside of my house.
Oh, you
behind
were
a door.
traumatized by
yes,
that.
like it scared me. It fucking hurt. Never again.
You know what I thought about doing this past 4th of July for content? I was like, I really wish I could put a Roman candle in my butt and let it shoot out. But then I was like, what if it shot out the other end?
Right.
Like, I did not want to risk that, but I thought that would be a good video. I thought about just putting one up my booty. I thought about it. I seriously considered it, but I was like,
I mean, you could always like put it in like a, I don't know, like a mason jar. And
well, I can't put a mason jar up my butt. Maybe my your hoo-ha. Not my butt. My butt doesn't do the things my hoo-ha does. Probably because I've broken my tailbone twice, so it just hurts.
All right. Well,
let's
wrap
wrapping
this
it
one
up. There's our story. Dead sister, me and little sister.
Firework trauma.
Firework trauma. Oh, God. Okay, so that's all for today's episode of Girl, Are You Okay? We hope you enjoyed listening and found some laughs and comfort in our crazy stories.
Everyone has their own wild and traumatic tales, and that's what makes us all unique. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review.
And don't forget to follow us on social media for more updates and behind-the-scenes content. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Girl, Are You Okay?
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
Stay fabulous, stay strong, and always remember to check in on your friends.
Bye.
Bye.